Oh my God, you guys. Oh my God. Uh, the Bears did it. They found a way to come away with a win. That's now three straight. The Bears are 3-2. They've defeated the Washington Commanders 25-24, expelling the Demons from the Hail Mary game from last year. Oh my God. Uh, I'm not used to this. I'm really not. This is something that, as a Bears fan, you're trained to temper your expectations, really. And I mean, because time and time again, something always goes wrong, right? Something always goes wrong with the Chicago Bears, but they found a way to win. They found a way to win. The Bears are 3-2. They came out of the bye week with the win. It's a 3-game winning streak. Things are looking good. Welcome to Wrap It Up, the official post-game podcast live stream for Second City Gridiron. I am your fat host, Jacob Infante. Guys, what the hell? I'm truly at a loss for words. I wasn't expecting this to happen. Truthfully. We've got a lot to talk about. We've got a lot of good to talk about. I mean, there's certainly some bad to take away from this, but I mean, the Bears just won a game, so I'm going to honestly focus on, the positive, because we have been, as Bears fans and as, in the fake pseudo analyst role that I like to serve, we're so inclined to go with the, focus on the negative and just focus, hardcore on what went wrong. And a lot did go wrong, but a lot went right as well, obviously. And the most important thing went right. That's a victory. So, I don't even know where to start. I'm going to go through, and as this show progresses, I'm going to pick a handful of comments here from the people watching live on Twitter/X, and we're getting some comments on the Second City Gridiron YouTube page as well. So please subscribe to that if you aren't already, which if you aren't, why the hell are you not? You're missing out. So in spite of the screwiness that happened with the refs, the Bears were able to come away with a win. I want to start with DeAndre Swift. I think that for so much of his time in Chicago, DeAndre Swift has been, much maligned. And I feel like, honestly, a lot of it is, has been pretty warranted. Like, I'd say to this point, he hasn't lived up to his, the salary that Chicago forked over within the first 15 seconds of free agency back 2 years ago. But he showed up big time today. 14 carries, 108 rushing yards. Also had 2 catches, 67 yards receiving, including that 55-yarder for a touchdown. I'm not very good at math, but that is 175 scrimmage yards for DeAndre Swift today. And as I'm checking frantically through ESPN, I can say that it's the second most rushing yards that DeAndre Swift has had in his 2 seasons with the Bears. It's his most yards from scrimmage that he's had with the Chicago Bears. It was fantastic. He was fantastic today. A lot of kudos belongs to the offensive line as well. They did a tremendous job of providing opportunities for him right up the middle. I know that's been a focal point a lot of people are talking about, where it's like, Swift can't, diagnose right up the middle. And historically, I mean, he hasn't been able to the last 2 years, but he did today. The offensive line did a hell of a job. Swift did a hell of a job. And I think the big thing that really worked for Chicago is, whether it was from Ben Johnson himself scheming it or from the offensive line providing him that opportunity. DeAndre Swift had a lot of space to work with. And I think that, sorry, I'm still riding the high and the adrenaline is going crazy. My mind's all over the place. DeAndre Swift is at his best when he has a lot of space to work with. The Bears gave him space and Swift worked his magic. So he deserves a lot of credit for how he performed. The offensive line did a great job as well, especially run blocking, pass protection, a little hit or miss, but not particularly bad at all. As I'm going through some of the comments here, I want to shout out Mason West here from one of our Second City Gridiron guys in the YouTube chat saying, A, how the hell am I supposed to sleep now? B, do we need to get a Manscaped sponsor to get you an electric shaver, Jacob? So I don't know how I'm supposed to sleep now. I don't know how you're supposed to sleep now either, Mason. I'm all hopped up on the adrenaline of the Bears winning a game in the fashion that they did in prime time. Finally, something going Chicago's way. Finally, something going, in our fan base's direction. It's awesome. As far as the electric shaver goes, I tweeted something out that I was going to shave the mustache. I deleted it pretty quickly, but I still have the mustache for right now. I'm going to get a haircut. I want to go a little bit shorter. Like it's puffed out on the sides. I want to make it a little bit easier to manage. We'll figure out what to do with the mustache from there. So, Jacob, do not shave that mustache. There you go. I think if anything, that's all the validation I need that I'm going to keep this. We'll see how it goes with because a real life woman said that. And I'm very flattered. So thank you, Natalie. We'll see. Well, I'm going to get a haircut. We'll go from there, but the mustache is still here. Anyway, okay, you guys aren't here to hear me talk about my mustache for 5 minutes or 20 minutes, whatever the hell. I don't know. You're here to talk about the Bears. So, and now I've got people in the Twitter chat telling me to go bald. So I'm not going to do that. Mon on Twitter says, can't believe you called it being down to a field goal. I did. So I mentioned on my tweet, so I wasn't able to post throughout the entire game, but I posted, I want to say it was near the end of the third or the beginning of the fourth quarter. Watch this. If this comes down to a last second field goal, I might go into cardiac arrest. And I mean, it did. Obviously, it worked out well for the Bears in this specific case, which I'm flattered by. I'm ecstatic about. But it does seem very Chicago Bears to leave it up to the last possible second. I feel like that's been the case in, a lot of the last few years, especially under Eberflus and, a couple of times now under Ben Johnson as well. There've been a couple instances where, the Bears play competitive, but, one reason or another, it goes into the last possible second. So it worked out well. It worked out well for sure. So I'm very excited that things finally worked out all right. Austin Corbett says, Jacob, let's get excited about Luther Burden. Yes. So Luther Burden came away from today with 4 catches for 51 yards, including a 37-yard reception. I feel pretty good. Honestly, I feel pretty good about Luther Burden and the ability that the Bears have to slowly but surely work him into their offense. And I think that that's something that Ben Johnson clearly wants to do. I mean, you're not using a second-round pick on a wide receiver, especially given the needs that the Bears have had at other positions if you don't want to get him involved in the offense right away. And they found a way to do that slowly but surely. Look, I don't think anyone's clamoring for Luther Burden to get like 10 targets every single game, but hey, I mean, if you get a guy with that agility, you get a guy with that contact balance, that pure playmaking ability to, make a play, you get the ball in his hands. That's a valuable asset. So, shout out to Luther Burden as well. Andrew Zangri, shout out to him, says, Jacob, what can we do to improve the D-line this year? I really wanted to see Booker out there tonight, but felt like the D-line was better late in the game. I agree. I think the defensive line, I mean, look, it's not perfect. It's not a, I don't know. I don't want to say it's fixed by any means, but the Bears defensive line did a much better job down the stretch of putting pressure on Jaden Daniels. I mean, if you're able to sack a guy like that 3 times, a quarterback who's that athletic, who does such a good job of making guys miss both in the pocket and out of the pocket, I think that's something to celebrate. Javon Dexter especially had a sack and a half. Dominique Robinson pitched in with half a sack. I think that's something where, there's there are parts to be encouraged about from the defensive line performance. I think there's still an impact guy away. I still think that, if you can get an edge rusher early in the draft, that'd be huge. But I mean, like you said, what can you do to improve the defensive line this year? Look, I think that now the Bears are 3-2, right? They're firmly at this stage, they're firmly in position to down the stretch compete for a playoff spot, hypothetically. You look at their next couple games, it's against the Saints, who haven't been very good this year, at the Ravens. I mean, who knows? I think, Lamar Jackson's probably going to be back for that game, but that, team's been a shit show. And then the Bengals, they don't have Joe Burrow. That's been a disaster. Giants, you never know. I mean, with Jackson Dart, they've shown, they can beat anybody, but they also lost to the Saints. So you never know. There's a serious stretch of winnable games that the Bears have right now. I think you look at this and I'm like, I think the Bears should be buyers at the trade deadline, especially after winning this game with the stretch of games that you have being extremely winnable. Not saying it's a lock by any means, but in theory, they're extremely winnable. You have a chance to stack up some wins and head into that tough spot where, the divisional games start picking back up. Trade for an edge rusher, trade for a defensive tackle. I don't think that anybody you get in free agency at this point is going to be a needle mover. But I definitely look to the, to the trade market to see defensive linemen who are available. I know just off the top of my head, I check and see what Jeffrey Simmons, what his going rate is, because I mean, the Titans just fired their head coach. Their season's tanked. They're not going to be competitive this year. They know it. Everybody knows it. Jeffrey Simmons has been phenomenal this year. See what it takes to, see what their asking price is on him. Defensive end, you can go in a couple different directions. Any of the Dolphins guys, I don't know what the, what the finances look like for, Jalen Phillips, like my friend here says. I'm not going to say his name because he's only Matthews. I know his real name. I don't want to dox him because I'm a good guy. Jalen Phillips, you're also looking at potentially Bradley Chubb as an option that the Bears could trade for. I'd be interested in other guys as well. Max Crosby. Look, I don't think the Raiders are going to trade Max Crosby, but I mean, it's worth checking in just because they haven't been great this year. I don't know. I think that's a long shot, but we'll see. Trey Hendrickson, I think, is also a realistic option. I think that because of the fact that you're getting him at the trade deadline, you can get him for cheaper. He's the type of guy you pay. You're going to pay him a lot of money, and you're going to give up some decent, you're going to give up some decent capital for him. But the hope is, since it's mid-season at the trade deadline, you can acquire him for maybe a little bit less and go from there. So I don't want to give up a first round pick by any means. I mean, I think if you're making a move at the trade deadline, you're not doing that for anybody. Second round pick, I don't know. I still think that the Bears are heading into next offseason. They have a handful of needs. And like what Almighty Man says in the YouTube chat, are we an edge away though? Why buy at the deadline when you can keep picks and add in free agency? I think the debate goes both ways. I don't know. I was going to make a joke there, but I can't. I'm not going to. I'm going to hold restraint for the time being. But I said go both ways. Come to your own conclusions from there. Make some sort of joke about whoever you want. Sweet. Why buy the deadline when you can keep picks and add in free agency? I don't think the Bears are going to be very active in free agency is the thing this year. I think they're going to make some sort of moves, obviously, because they have to. But they don't have as much cap flexibility this coming off season as they've had this past off season and the off season before that. So because, off of that, I mean, there are guys you can cut, there are contracts you can restructure to, save money, but you have a lot of guys who are slated to hit free agency, a couple guys that you need to retain. So I don't think they're going to be extremely active in free agency. They might sign a couple of, re-sign a couple of their own guys, make one or two big moves. We'll see. But, at the same time, you make the argument when you keep picks. I think that the Bears, I mean, on defense, I don't want to keep bringing up the negative in a win like this. I mean, the Bears are winners of 3 straight. They're winners of 3 straight. They just won off a last-second field goal in prime time. I can't be mad at that at all. I can't be pessimistic about that at all. But I think that as the Bears have shown, their defense isn't a finished product. They need, a little bit more consistency in the pass rush. Jalen Johnson being hurt is a huge blow to the secondary. I don't know. Maybe they trade for like a 1-year rental veteran at cornerback. I don't expect that that's going to be as expensive as an edge rusher, especially if it's just like a 1-year sort of deal. But it's something to keep in mind because Nahshon Wright, he did have that fumble recovery, but in coverage, he was pretty consistently getting burned. So that's something where it's like, all right, if you're going to be competing for a playoff spot, is that a guy you want to be like consistently in the starting lineup? I don't know. So we have a lot of questions here in the live chat. Reminder for those of you who are just tuning in, this is Wrap It Up with Jacob Infante, the official post-game recap show of the Second City Gridiron YouTube page. If you're listening on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts, Spotify, Apple, SoundCloud. I think we do SoundCloud, right? I've experienced with SoundCloud. I don't want to get into that. I have an alter ego that maybe I'll share with the world one day, but now's not the time. You can watch all of these post-game recaps wherever you get your podcasts on the Second City Gridiron channel. I see, a lot of you are commenting here in the YouTube stream. A lot of you are commenting here when I go live on my Twitter/X account. I love that. Thank you guys for all tuning in. We're 17 minutes in and we're about 8,000 viewers, which that is insane. That's more than the official press conference of the Chicago Bears right now by a considerable margin. And that's nuts. So thank you guys for listening to this fat guy with a mustache that he may or may not shave talk about the Bears. Mark Calloway. I don't know if this is Mark Calloway, the Undertaker, like the professional wrestler, the dead man, one of the greatest of all time. If it is, it's a pleasure to meet you, sir. If it's not, pleasure to meet you as well, Mr. Calloway. Thought Monangai played huge tonight. So Kyle Monangai, he had, 5 carries for 19 yards, also had a 25-yard reception as well. I believe that was a screen. Yeah, it was a screen. And I think that the Bears, they showed like in week 1, I don't think Monangai got a single touch. They're slowly but surely working him into the offense. He's going to be some sort of rotational player for sure. So I think that with a rookie, obviously you're going to have a learning curve from time to time, but he's tough. He's shifty. He's a guy you want to get the ball in his hands. So I got to give him a lot of credit as well. He served in a, pretty effective, role player sort of contribution. And I think that he deserves a lot of credit for that as well. So my father, Steve Infante, coming into the chat, tight ends haven't had a role the last few games. What gives? That's a good question because, you're looking here. Colston Loveland, he's missed time due to injury today. He had 3 targets, 2 catches for 11 yards. Cole Kmet had 1 catch for no yards and only 2 targets. So they've spent a lot, they've invested a lot in the tight end position, only, 5 targets between their top 2 guys, only 11 yards of offense out of that. So I'd say to this point, I mean, sure, it's a little bit worrisome that, they haven't gotten the production out of their tight ends that they want. I think that as time goes on, we're going to see, obviously, there are a lot of mouths to feed in the Bears offense. And, you have Romadunze getting 5 targets, DJ Moore getting 5 targets. Olamide Zaccheaus had 6 targets today. Luther Burden got targeted 4 times. There are a lot of guys that they have to target. And just naturally, I think that some games other players are going to get focused on more than others. But I am a little bit surprised to this point that the tight ends haven't been utilized entirely. If I put the tinfoil hat on and go all conspiracy mode, I get the sense that Ben Johnson isn't very high on Cole Kmet, just because even when Colston Loveland was hurt, they didn't do much with Kmet. So I think that they've been waiting a little bit to slowly but surely work Loveland into a bigger role and have him take over the undisputed tight end 1 role in that offense. Again, maybe I'm just going, crazy full conspiracy here, but I get the sense that just off of the lack of prioritization, I think that Ben Johnson isn't a huge fan of Kmet. And as a result of that, Loveland being hurt, obviously you can't do anything with that. But now that he's back, they're, ramp him up slowly but surely to take on a little bit bigger role in the offense. So I think things are going to change a little bit. I expect Loveland to, as the season progresses, as he, continues to work within the offense. And I mean, historically, rookie tight ends usually don't do all that great. I know everyone's going to be like, oh, Brock Bowers, but Brock Bowers is a alien specimen from hell. He's incredible. Not every rookie tight end is going to be Brock Bowers. So I do think that they're going to work a way to, ramp Loveland up for sure. But yeah, I think that their usage of Kmet the last few weeks is, even when Colston Loveland was hurt, I think that says a lot about what the coaching staff, or at least Ben Johnson, views him as a priority. So we'll see. We'll see for sure. But Nick in the Twitter chat says 3 turnovers. Talk to me. So I think that down the stretch, obviously, things got a little bit rainy. Things got a little bit sloppy from the weather conditions. And I think, that played in the Bears' favor well. You have to have good space, good situational awareness of where the, of where the ball is at all times. And if, your opponent messes up on that, if he slips up, you need to be able to take advantage. I think they did exactly that. Jaquan Brisker had a pick as well, which I think is huge. I know Brisker was a little bit shaky today. I know he had they utilized him a handful of times as a blitzer. And, he got pressure. He got pressure, but he, missed a sack and, also got called for the low hit. I don't like that penalty to begin with. Just the fact that it's a thing. I kind of hate. Like, I get it to some extent. It's like you want to protect the quarterback, but stuff like that, it's just he wasn't in any more significant danger, I don't think, than if he took just a regular normal sack. That said, it did meet the criteria for the penalty. I more have a problem with the fact that it's a penalty to begin with than what the refs called on Brisker. I thought what the refs called on Brisker in that case was fair. I just don't like the penalty being a thing to that strict extent to begin with. Anyway, Brisker getting a pick, though, is huge. And having that ability to generate turnovers, it goes without saying that played a big role in why the Bears won this game. It really did, because you watch over the course of the game, the coverage was spotty. It was inconsistent. And there are a lot of times where, just underneath, whether it was, across the middle of the field in that, that hook curl zone, or, maybe a little bit more towards the boundary of the field side, along the, the perimeter there, it was, pretty spacious underneath. They had a lot of room to work with typically. And I think that that's something that part of that comes down to play calling being a little bit too soft. I know Bears fans know that as well as anybody watching Matt Eberflus and those defenses the last couple of years. But I think part of it too is just you don't have the cornerbacks currently to process that quickly. And if you're giving up that much cushion off the line of scrimmage, you need guys who are going to be able to, I can't snap, but oh my God. That was not bad for a guy who can't snap. Who can process quickly like that. And I wouldn't say that Nahshon Wright's there. Tyreek Stevenson has shown in flashes he can be. I just don't think, he's there consistently yet. And then Kyler Gordon, I mean, naturally he's going to be playing a little bit off, being in the slot. But yeah, I think that having the ability to pounce, having the ability to know where the ball is at all times, to, play with that relentless mentality, I think is huge. So I got to give a lot of credit to the defense there. There wasn't a perfect performance from the defense, but they did a damn good job. Cream Sleeve reposted this stream. Thank you, Cream. I appreciate it. Everyone's favorite janitor. I bet that tomorrow is going to be fun at Hallis Hall. So very. I hope that they have like a pizza party or something. So Cream, if they have something, I'm expecting you to let us know. I've had a couple people here, both in the YouTube chat and in the Twitter chat as well. Please talk about Theo Benedette. Did we find a new left tackle? He played great. I got to give a lot of credit to Benedette, and I got to give a lot of credit to Darnell Wright as well. I think that the Commanders were they were creative in how they dialed up pressure, but I think both the offensive tackles upon initial review performed better than I was expecting, especially Benedette. I mean, Darnell Wright is a very good starting tackle. I think that's established by now. It's just been the penalties earlier on in the year, cutting down on that. But snap by snap, he's a very good player. Benedette, at least off of initial review, looked pretty damn good, especially for a guy who didn't play at all his rookie year. He was an undrafted free agent out of Canada at the U Sports. They played British Columbia, teammates with Giovanni Manu of the Detroit Lions. Manu got drafted. Benedette didn't, but Benedette looked good today, at least off of my initial viewing. And again, I'm going to break this down in much more, specific detail once the All-22 comes out. If you hit up my Patreon, patreon.com/Jacob Infante, cheap plug there. I do 5 scouting reports for every single Bears game once the coach's film hits, and I pick 5 players, their strengths and weaknesses. I pick Caleb Williams as one of them every week, but yeah, anyway, definitely recommend checking that out. And once that comes, I'll have a little bit more informed opinions to say on the offensive line individually. But upon first glance, Theo deserves a lot of credit for stepping in the way that he did and looking competent, all things considered. And Darnell Wright deserves a lot of credit too. The whole offensive line really, I think, deserves a lot of credit. So it's exciting. I mean, it's not to say that the offensive line was flawless by any means. Obviously, Caleb got sacked 3 times. He got hit 5 times. I mean, that's not as bad as some of what we saw last year, or some of what we saw when Justin Fields was the quarterback in Chicago. So the offensive line has definitely improved. Still got room to grow, but it's a step in the right direction for sure. So it's very, very encouraging to see stuff like that for sure. So we're coming up on a half hour here. I just want to say again, appreciate every single one of you guys for tuning in here. We're getting dangerously close to 10,000 viewers live on the live stream. If you're listening to this after the fact on YouTube or anywhere you get your podcasts, or on Facebook, where we're also live right now, you can interact with me, the Jakester, this fat guy, in live time, and ask questions. And obviously, as you guys are seeing, I'm answering these questions in live time. So I like to try and keep this as interactive as possible, especially when the vibes are high, especially when the Bears are coming off a win. Things are very good. It's very exciting to think about. So Yeah, I mean, I'm going to go through here and take a look at some of the other comments. I don't want to go live too far. Hallis Beer Hall, the friends at Hallis Beer Hall, my guys, rank the top 5 quarterbacks from Caleb's draft class. Okay, so I'm going to do it. I mean, so keep in mind, it's the, it's a 6 round, there were 6 quarterbacks selected in the first round. So I guess I'll go from there. I'm not going to put Caleb at 1. I'm not. I'm sorry. I'm going to put, at least right now, taking a look at how this season has performed. I mean, maybe obviously Jaden Daniels was the best of the bunch last year, but he hasn't been this year. And it's a lot of what have you done for me lately, at least in my eyes. So I'm going Drake May, number 1. He's been phenomenal this year. I think that he was kind of the forgotten man with obviously how highly touted Caleb Williams was coming out of college. And, honestly still is. There are a lot of eyes on Caleb Williams. It's a big market. He's a very talented player. There's a lot to like there. There's a lot to focus on from a national perspective. And then Jaden Daniels having the year that he had last year, obviously there's a lot of eyes on him too. Drake May, though, I think is becoming one of the not just top young quarterbacks in the NFL, but one of the top quarterbacks in the NFL. And we'll see how it progresses as the year goes on. But this season's been a phenomenal start for him. Drake May, number 1. I know the Bears just beat the Commanders, but I'm going to do Jaden Daniels 2 and Caleb Williams 3. I think that the fact that, the Bears are 3-2, Caleb Williams is improving significantly. He's still got a long way to go. But I look at that as the Bears are winning games, the offense is looking competent, and Caleb isn't nearly at his final form. I think that's exciting to think about. Again, we'll see if he does fulfill his full potential. I think he certainly can. Just might take a little bit of time. Jaden Daniels, I think right now is the superior quarterback, so I'm going to go him at 2. But I really like the upside that Caleb Williams has. I like some of the growth that we've seen out of him from year 1 to year 2. So that's my top 3 from that draft class. Number 4, I guess I'll go Bo Nix. He's been a little bit spotty this season. The Broncos, they have a good coaching staff in place. They have a good offensive system. So I got to give him props for, he serves the game manager role well. He's not the guy that's going to elevate an offense. He can't do it in the way that a Drake May or Jaden Daniels or a Caleb Williams does. He doesn't have that upside. He doesn't have those tools. Maybe he's a little bit more consistent than Caleb or Jaden. Usually, I don't know. I'm just spitballing here. But Bo Nix number 4, Penix number 5, McCarthy number 6. That's what I'm going to do. So, and just because we haven't seen a lot of McCarthy and what we've seen hasn't been great, I'm a believer that in that Vikings offense, he can eventually be a solid quarterback. Will he be amazing? I don't know. But I think that, just off of such a small sample size, you have to rank him 6 and then Penix number 5. So hell yeah. I'm hoping that Caleb can overtake Jaden Daniels because I don't think Daniels has been amazing this year. He played a solid game. Against the Bears today. He deserves credit for that. 3 touchdowns. The Bears gave him a lot of soft coverage, and Jaden did exactly what you'd hope him to do if you're a Commanders fan, if you're on that team, and that's, take advantage of it. But he also had the pick, also had, the ball security issues with the fumble. But yeah, there you go. I'm going to go here to the YouTube chat. Billy the Kid says, Jacob, do you see Moody maybe pushing Cairo for the job? Cairo has been solid, but he has 0 ability past 50 yards. It's a good question. I think that naturally, especially you're coming off of a game-winning field goal. It's very sorry, I just got a notification that the X chat isn't working right now. Can't post comments at some destinations. I don't know what's going on. We'll take a look into that. But I think naturally coming off of a game-winning field goal, a lot of people are going to jump to conclusions about Jake Moody. I think that him coming through in the clutch was massive. The They asked him to kick field goals 5 times. He made 4 of them. One of them was blocked. So, that's not ideal. And 80% isn't like an ideal field goal percentage, but I think that Moody has a significantly stronger leg than Cairo Santos. He's not as consistent as far as his touch, his consistency in between the hash marks and, the touch and the accuracy, the consistency of where he places the kick in between the goalposts, if at all, for that matter. But I do think there's a reason that Moody got drafted as early as he did. And I think a lot of that comes down to how strong his leg is. Naturally, you saw it when he was in college. Just the ball comes off of his foot a little differently compared to how it does with Cairo Santos. There's more power. There's more velocity. There's more instability for sure. So I can't say definitively if, you cut Cairo Santos, you're going to go for, Jake Moody going forward. But it's, it's a conversation worth having. I'm not going to go out here and say definitively that that's the case, but yeah, I think that that's, it's worth considering at least. I can't say definitively one way or the other. Ryan Shansler in the YouTube chat. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Sorry if not, but I appreciate the comment. So I know some of you in the YouTube chat are, I've seen some comments of like, oh, you're too crass. And I say, shut up. So I'm going to say this, read this verbatim, the comment that I got on YouTube. So you guys can't blame me for my naughty language. Jake, what's up with that fuck boy, Troy Aikman? So yeah, Troy Aikman was brutal today. And Ryan follows up in the YouTube chat, not even close. Haha, but it's all good. Sorry about that. I'll work on that. I'll read your name like 20 times. I'm putting in the reps here. I'm a grinder, but Troy Aikman, I don't know. Normally, like I think that the Joe Buck, Troy Aikman commentary team I think it gets a lot of flack sometimes. I think Joe Buck is much better at his job than a lot of people give him credit for. Especially recently in the last couple of years. I think maybe 10 years or so ago, he got kind of complacent. Didn't have the big game energy. I think he's done a much better job of that. But Troy Aikman was very much, I don't know. He was annoying. He was very annoying to listen to. Not to take away. I mean, he's obviously, he had an incredible football career. He's forgotten more about football than I'll ever know. But at the same time, it was still just kind of, I don't know. And that's not me saying, oh, Caleb Williams was perfect. He absolutely wasn't. I'd say that all things considered, this is probably on the lower end of games that he's had this year. And by the time that the season ends, I think if you had to rank all 17, knock on wood, he stays healthy for all those games. If you were to rank all of his starts, I think this will probably be a little bit near the bottom. But still, I think Aikman is still, frustrating to listen to. It's like, all right, dude, we get it. Come on. Like, just, I don't know. I don't want to say anything that's going to get me in trouble, but that was not it's not a fun listen. I'm glad that I was a little bit late getting to the game. And then once I caught up, I had the volume on mute. So I didn't hear the commentary or anything. I was just watching the game, trying to catch up as quickly as I could to the live time. So I missed most of it, but some of it I caught and I'm like, dude, just shut up. But anyway, Fredo asks in the Twitter chat, did you find out if your dad was Cream? So Cream Sleeve was in the chat earlier. The greatest janitor in Hallis Hall right now. I tweeted out a little bit earlier today, playing in the fact, maybe someone said, maybe I think Jacob Infante is behind the Cream Sleeve account. And I played it and it was like, maybe I am, maybe I'm not. And then my father replied in the post, or maybe it's his dad or something like that. So still haven't found out if my dad is responsible for the notorious janitor account cream sleeve. I'll work on that. I'll do a little digging here once we get off the live stream. So and then no comment from Steve Infante in the YouTube chat. So we'll go from there. Come to your own conclusions. But anyway, John Wayne in the Twitter chat, if that's your name, that's pretty cool. That's pretty sick. It says 6-2, very much on the board. I agree. You're looking at their next couple games. Like I said earlier, near the top of the show, Saints, Ravens, Bengals. Those are their next 3 games. If they win all those, they're 6-2. They win. They beat the Giants too. That's 7-2. Look, do I expect them to win all those games? Probably not. I think there's at least one they probably drop somewhere, just because that's how the NFL works. Going on a massive winning streak like that, it doesn't happen very often. But I think 6-2, 6-3, 7-2. It's realistic. I don't know if it's going to happen. I think 6-3 is very realistic. If you have, maybe say they drop the Ravens game. Well, I'd say that's the one I'm looking at. Maybe they drop that one. But I think they beat the Bengals. That's a lifeless team right now. We'll see. It's in Cincinnati. Saints, you never know. I'm going to be at that game. So by the way, I will not be doing the live stream for the post-game show next week in the Bears matchup against the Saints, because I'll be at Soldier Field. So if you guys see me there, if you're at the game, say hi, make fun of me, whatever. I might still have the mustache by then. So tell me how much you love or hate it. But yeah, it is very much on the board. And that is going to transition me here into the final segment, which is Jacob Infante's happy ending. Because everyone, whatever. I've gotten some pretty good feedback on that as the segment ender. So we're going to stick with it. And obviously there's a lot to be excited about coming off the last second win over the Commanders. The Commanders are a good team. I think that's something we're saying. They didn't perform at their best, but that's a good team that you beat on the road in prime time. That's something to be very proud of. So a lot of kudos belongs to the Bears for bouncing back, especially when you consider a lot of the guys on the roster this year were on the roster last year, or at least a decent amount of them. They know the sting of that loss, the Hail Mary. I'll say it a little quieter because I don't want people to, throw their screens out the window. But a lot of people, they experienced the hurt. They really did. And now to come back and it's to the scene of the crime, so to speak, and it's a new coach, it's, a handful of new starters, but a lot of the same players who experienced that heartbreaking loss last year, to be able to come back to march into a hostile away environment on a grand stage and to pick up the win was huge. I tweeted out right before the show went live. I also do the post-game article over at Windy City Gridiron. So definitely recommend checking that out once I get off the stream here. But when I tweeted that out, I said something along the lines of, so many times over the last few years, I feel like the Bears have trained us as fans I'm not media. I don't want to say, I think those are the professionals. But the fanalists like me, we've been trained to have to keep our expectations low. And, it's Murphy's Law, whatever can go wrong will go wrong. That's, the kind of the mentality that Bears fans have been forced to endure just because that's the way things have been. But looking at their last couple of games now, obviously the Vikings, week 1 wasn't great, but the Raiders, they blocked a game-winning field goal, 25-24. Commanders, they hit a game-winning field goal, 25-24. The Bears have had a lot of one-possession losses over the last few years and not a lot of one-possession wins. And I'm grateful to say so far this year, they're 2-1 in one possession games. And if you can that's how the Vikings make the playoffs every year. They don't dominate anybody. They play competitive against everybody, but it's how well they're coached that allows them to secure those victories. That's what gets them into the playoffs. I mean, they're a good team. The Vikings are a good team. It's a good organization. Don't get me wrong. But I think so much of that comes down to the coaching of the ability to close in the big moments. The Bears haven't been able to do that. They've had a lot of opportunities to do that over the years. They just haven't been able to do it. Ben Johnson's been able to do that 2 games in a row, and that's very exciting. I'd have to go back and look. I think that's more than Matt Eberflus had his entire time in Chicago, damn near. In the, close to 3 years that he had, I think Ben Johnson's already proven that he's better in a, in a late game scenario than Eberflus was, even off of such a small sample size. But that's not a high bar. Anyway, though, they're winners of 3 straight. They have an incredibly manageable stretch of games. Saints next week on Sunday at noon at Soldier Field. At the Ravens the following week. Lamar Jackson should be back, but that team is in a lot of disarray right now. At the Bengals, where it's going to be Joe Flacco, presumably, unless they go back to Jake Browning. Either way, that's not, elite quarterback play that you're working with there. And then the Giants, who have shown they're, very volatile, hit or miss, and that's at Soldier Field as well. So there's a lot to be excited about. This was a huge, huge win for the Bears. I don't think it could be overstated just how clutch that this victory was. Because down the stretch, like I've maintained that the Bears need to do really well outside of their division to make the playoffs. Because it might be the toughest division in all of football. I think it is. If it's not, then it's certainly, top 2 or top 3. But you're going to face a lot of tough teams down the stretch. So the more of these out of divisional games that you win, the better your chances are of making the playoffs. And, even if you go like 2-4 within the division, even if you don't absolutely kill it in NFC North play, you can still make the playoffs if you do well enough outside of the division. And now, luckily, I can say the Bears are 3-0 outside of the NFC North. And I think that that's something where if the Bears continue to play like they have and develop the way they have, I think that's going to be very, very beneficial for them come December, come January. So there we go. I'm going to leave it off at that. Thank you guys to every single one of you who tuned in live. And thank you to everybody who is watching this after the fact on, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, X, anywhere that you get your podcasts after the fact. I truly appreciate every single one of you. For the live stream, we are 48 minutes here. We're at just surpassed 11,500 people, which is insane. It's a lot more fun to talk about the Bears when they're winning games. I'll tell you that. So I'm, very grateful to be doing this. I'm very grateful to be interacting with every single one of you. Thank you to everybody who's tuned in. Friendly reminder again, I won't be here next week. We're still figuring out exactly who that's going to be. But we will be going live, per usual on the Second City Gridiron page on YouTube. And we'll be streaming live on Facebook as well. Whoever does end up doing the post-game show, definitely recommend you tune in for that. I know I'll be reposting it so you guys can all see it and everything, for visibility. But we've got a great group at Second City Gridiron, great group at Windy City Gridiron. And then there's me here. So I appreciate every one of you following along live wherever you're listening to this stream. So Bears are 3-2, baby. That's going to do it. That's going to do it for Wrap It Up with Jacob Infante. The Chicago Bears defeat the Washington Commanders 25-24. The Bears are 3-2, winners of 3 straight. Things are looking pretty good. I don't know how to feel. I don't know how to feel. I'm not used to this feeling of optimism, of winning, of competency. It's not perfect, but it's a massive step in the right direction. So that's going to do it. Thank you, every single one of you, for tuning in. I'll be back in 2 weeks, but tune in with us next week on the Second City Gridiron YouTube page for our live post-game thoughts. So this has been Jacob Infante. The Bears are winners of 3 straight. It feels pretty damn good. So until next time, bear down.